Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by Hannah Keating. Hannah is a sophomore on the Utica women's hockey team and is from Massachusetts as well, where she played her youth hockey at that state. So welcome to the podcast, Hannah, and thank you so much for coming on today. How's everything going?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you on. And what have you been up to since the season ended a couple of weeks ago for yourself?
Honestly, not much. We started workouts, and honestly just doing homework. So life's pretty boring right now without hockey. So
Hey, boring is not the worst thing, though. That's what I
yeah,
say. So it could,
I have a lot more free time on my hands, but
that's good at least. Yeah. And
yeah.
I guess like how have the team workouts been for yourself? Have you done any, or are you going to get into that in a couple of weeks?
So, as of right now, it's a lot of conditioning. We're not really in the weight room at all. So they're 7 a.m. and they're great, just running, all that. But they're not bad. I like it.
What are some of the drills that your team does?
So for example, on Monday we kind of did like a circuit. So it was 45 seconds on, and then you went right to the next station. Um, so there was like box jumps. Then you take a lap, and then there's the TRX rows, and then there was sprinting down the court with a band with your partner, um, kettlebell swings, ropes, wall sits, a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah, that sounds fun, but I think that's good though, because at least how I view it is the more work you put in the off season, the better you're going to be in season.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
especially with the
Definitely.
conditioning stuff, because when you're in overtime in a playoff game, that conditioning really kicks in and really gives
Yeah,
you kind
it
of the
really
extra
does.
jump to potentially win that game. So even though it
Yeah.
sucks now, I feel like it's going to benefit you in a few months from now.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, what are your off-season plans, I guess, besides hockey? Anything interesting or kind of just working out and doing school?
So as of right now, it's just finishing the school year. And then for the summer, I go back home to North Andover. Um, and I'm just gonna be working and working out really. Home's pretty boring, but because none of my siblings live there, so it's usually just me and my sister.
Well, it's like I said, it could be worse. You
Yeah.
probably enjoyed the peace of quiet there, but any like, what's your summer job? Do you have anything planned for that, or is it kind of just waiting to find out?
So I have one set job at a restaurant in Newburyport, Massachusetts, Michael's Harborside, which is right on the water. It's a cool place. And then I'm waiting to hear on a job on Nantucket, which would be really cool. My brother's living there this summer. He lived there last summer, but um, I'm hoping I can live there with him because that would be pretty cool to live on an island for a summer.
I'm not an island person, personally.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm afraid like if something happens, I'll be trapped
You're
there and I
stuck.
can't go back
Yeah.
to like Massachusetts. So
Yeah.
that's why I wouldn't want to live on Nantucket, but I don't mind like spending like maybe a day there at the
Yeah,
most.
it's so pretty there. It's beautiful.
Especially that like I feel like with Martha's Vineyard, everything's so spread out. But I like the
Hmm.
reason why I like Nantucket a little more is I feel like there's so much to do in like congested areas
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Martha's Vineyard where
yeah,
you have to travel out just to do certain particular things.
yeah.
Now, how's school been going for yourself? Obviously, it's probably a little more of a normal year for you than your freshman year. So, how's that been like? And what's it like having in-person classes this year as well?
It's been going good this year so far. It's a lot more smooth. All of my classes have been in person except for I think two, but they're always online. Um, but it's nice. I kind of got into like a nice routine this year. Um, Last year, my freshman year, it was kind of weird because my teachers would be like, "Oh, there's a COVID outbreak, like classes online today," which was nice because then you don't have to walk in the freezing cold across campus. Um, but it's been good this year so far.
That's good. That's good. What are some classes that you're taking?
So right now I'm taking microeconomics. I'm taking a management class. I'm taking a public speaking class, and I'm taking an ethics class right now.
Nice. I'm assuming you're a business major with all those classes.
Yeah, I'm doing healthcare management right now.
Oh, nice, nice. And public speaking, that seems like the most interesting class, at least from my perspective. Well, how's that been going for you?
Um, so it's going like okay. I'm not really one to like to talk in front of a crowd. Um, but it's kind of putting me out of my comfort zone, which I like. And I've actually gotten a lot more comfortable with talking in front of the class. But it's cool. We do every week we do like little speeches and present them. But it's cool to like hear what everyone's speeches are about.
Now, getting back to the hockey side of things, like what are you going to be working on regarding your game for next season, and how are you going to go about doing that? Trying to balance both work and life, and then obviously trying to get better for the season during the summertime.
So I think for next season, I just had my like end of the year meeting with my coach. I think one thing I want to work on is just more being consistent, I guess. And I feel like that's pretty broad when you talk about it in terms of hockey. But just like being more consistent with like making small plays and like just getting the puck to the net. So I definitely want to work on that. And then like other stuff, like you can always become faster and have a harder shot. So just working on that, like in the driveway and stuff like that, working out. Um, but yeah, definitely those few things.
So let's transition now and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and kind of work all the way up to where you are today in college. So, like you said, you're from North Andover, Massachusetts. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey?
So I started playing hockey when I was 3. Um, I kind of grew up in a hockey family. My mom was a figure skater. My dad played hockey. I have 2 older brothers. They played hockey. My younger sister plays hockey. Um, so I actually started off doing figure skating lessons. And then the teacher didn't really like me because I'd show up in hockey skates and she's like, this is figure skating, not hockey. And I was like, all right. So started hockey. I started playing boys because girls hockey wasn't really big yet. So I played North Andover Mites. And then I went to Top Gun. I went to the New England Stars, then Islanders. Um, and then my last year of Islanders for boys, um, I was told that he doesn't want me on the team because he wants an all boys team. So telling a 4th grader that was not very good. So then in 5th and 6th grade, I went back to town and played boys hockey. And I probably learned the most going back to just playing town hockey from those coaches than I would have, I think, staying with those teams. Um, so I played there until 7th, 8th grade. And then finally I was like, all right, I need to transition to girls hockey because, I have to play girls in high school. So I played for the Islanders girls team and then the North Shore Wings.
Nice. Is that coach still coaching today by any chance, or do you have no clue? You have no idea.
So it's funny. So I don't know if he's coaching, but I ran into him a few years ago in high school, and it was just pretty
Awkward.
awkward because he like
Yeah.
crushed my dreams as a little girl, and but
Well, it feels like you got the last laugh because you're playing college hockey, and to be honest, I don't know
yeah,
who any of those guys are who are on that team. So, like,
yeah,
you kind of proved them wrong at the end of the day if you think about it
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
Now, who was your favorite player growing up? Was it someone on the Bruins? Was it a women's player on the national team? Like, who did you like watching growing up?
It was Hillary Knight. So I think it was 6th grade. We went and watched the Boston Blades play, and it was kind of like we went out on the ice when they were doing the national anthem, all that stuff. And I remember I was talking with her, and I was like had like googly eyes. I was like, so then my dream school became the University of Wisconsin. Like I just looked up to her so much because she kind of has the same playing style as me because she's a lot bigger than and taller, stronger. Um, Definitely Hillary night.
Is that why you wear number 21 as well?
Funny story. So 16, my number, lucky number. Um, got to high school, couldn't wear it because it was taken. So I took my other brother's number, 10. I wanted that for college, but it's taken. And my mom was like, just do Hillary's number. I'm like, all right. So 21 it is.
That's awesome. Well, now you can make it your own number, not just your brother's number, if
Yeah,
you think about it that
seriously.
way as well.
Yeah.
And before college, you played for your high school, like you said, at HPNA. It's a bit
Yep.
of a tough name to pronounce, but
Yeah.
talk about your experience there and what did you take away from your high school hockey days?
Yeah. So going into high school, um, my freshman year was pretty tough. Um, a lot of stuff was going on like outside hockey, but it was my first year of varsity hockey, and I came in. I feel like I was a little too over cocky and just immediately just got shut down. Basically, I I got in like I don't know, just a lot of penalties, playing cheap, just not my playing style. So I went through a lot mentally my freshman year. And then summer going into my sophomore year, I got invited to the U.S. Player Development Camp in Minnesota. And there they do a lot of seminars about mental, physical health, all that. And I took a lot out of that. So go back my sophomore year, had an excellent, oh my God, I can't speak right now. Sorry. Excellent year. I really turned my game around mentally. It's kind of one of those things where like I'd have a bad play and I'm like, all right, like it's whatever. Unlike my freshman year where I'd get pissed off. But my coaches also had a big impact on that because they would like just teach me and be like, Hannah, like it's okay. Like, okay, you missed that pass. Like, go get the next pass kind of thing. Um, Going into my junior year, I was selected as a captain. And then a few weeks into my junior year, I got really sick with mono. And I missed a really big chunk of the season. And we ended up not doing good that year. It was pretty tough kind of sitting out and watching it. And it's hard to be a captain when you're not like on the bench, on the ice, which was pretty tough. And then going into my senior year, I met with the coaches and the other captains, and they're like, all right, like, what's our goal for the season? And I was like, I don't know, like, we have 1 year left. Like, let's do something. Like, I want to win the league. I want to win a state. Like, so going into my senior year, my team was kind of like the underdog. Everyone was like, yeah, like HPNA, like, no, like, they're bad. They've never beat us, whatever. So my senior year, we went undefeated. And won our league for the first time ever in history. And we beat our rival in that game at home, which was awesome. But yeah, no, my experience at HPNA, it's definitely something I'll always remember. And I feel like being a college hockey player, not a lot of people can say that they had like they're playing college from a public school. That wasn't that successful program. So you kind of like built your way up. But yeah.
Especially in Massachusetts, because if most people that do play public high school hockey, they're from Minnesota, where they're playing like
Yeah.
against other D1 players like in their area in that competition. Here in Mass, it's a little bit different. Like most people have to go to
Yeah.
like big private schools or have to go out like to another area to just play against players. So I think that's a really inspiring story just to hear someone who's from Massachusetts, played in a public school for all 4 years and found a way to make it to college hockey. You don't really hear that too much, but it's awesome when you do, just because it
Yeah.
inspires people like myself to keep going, just because I feel like mass hockey should get more recognition than it actually
Yeah.
does.
And the thing is I was looking to go play prep school after my freshman year because, like I said, I was like, this was just awful. And honestly, I'm really glad I didn't. because like I feel like if I went to a prep school, I wouldn't be here. Um, but I don't know. I think like recruiting wise, I guess if you're good, you'll get noticed. And that's something like my mom really like drilled in my head. She's like, Hannah, like if a school wants you, like it doesn't matter if you're playing prep school or if you're going to public school. Like if you're good, you're good. Um, I think the only difference is the competition from prep school to public. Um, but I was playing. We were in like it was Division 1, so we're playing really good teams. But I don't know. I'm happy how it turned out.
Yeah, yeah. No, the only other player that I've heard of from Mass Public School that played all 4 years and playing college hockey is a guy named Jack Quinlivan. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Mhm.
him, but he's the captain of Maine and he played 4 years at Shrewsbury High. So I think it's really cool. I've only heard of a handful of players who've actually done that. So
Yeah,
it's nice to talk to those players like yourself and him.
yeah,
And what'd you learn in that USA camp that kind of helped change your like mental side of the game? Because I feel like that's part of the game that isn't talked about enough. But I feel like when you have that confidence, you're a much better player. Just because I feel like you're playing with when you play with confidence, you're skating faster. You're taking that extra shot. You're
yeah,
more aware of what's going on. So I guess what'd you learn in that camp to help build your mental confidence and help your mental game improve from your freshman year to your sophomore year?
yeah. So I was selected for the camp. And it kind of was like eye opening. I was like, wow, like that's insane. And we ended up doing a pre camp at BU, and it was this handful of girls, and I was like, wow, like I was like, I've always wanted to like be in this group, and like now I'm here. Um, so that kind of was the first thing that like opened my eyes and inspired me to just want to keep pushing because I was like, I'm already at and reach one of my goals, so why not just keep going? So we get to Minnesota. Um, First day of practice, I remember I was like, because I had never seen that competition before. I was like, wow, I was like, these girls are good. Um, but in between, we'd have a bunch of different seminars, like I said. So the first one I think was about nutrition, and it was actually staff from the national team and Olympic team, like all that. Those were the ones that were talking to us. Um, they sent us home with a lot of papers about how to fuel your body, how to recover, how to do this, how to do that. In my freshman year self, like I didn't know how to eat to like fuel my body, you know. Um, so that was really informative and helped me a lot. And like I still use some of the stuff today that they talked about. But as of the mental side, they said this one quote, and it was like, if you're only feeling 50%, give 100% of the 50%. And like I still think about it today because like everyone has bad days and everyone has like a bad practice, bad game. But like if you're giving it all, even though you're feeling iffy, like you'll be good. But I don't know. I always talk about going there because I just learned so much.
Yeah. And how'd you handle the mental side of the game when you weren't playing in your junior year? Because I feel like that's something that's kind of hard to handle, not being with your teammates, especially when the team is struggling. And like, how'd you handle that with the sickness as well? Because I don't know too much about mono. I've never had it myself, but is it kind of like COVID where like it's hard to like breathe and stuff, or is it just like
Yeah. So
it just makes you weaker, I guess?
yeah. So I got it like the first week of December or something like that. It was like a week or two after the season started. Um, I didn't know I had it, and I was still going to practice, and I was contagious because you're contagious for a while. Um, so for me, my face got very puffy, my eyelids like very puffy, my eyes were like shut, my whole like lymph nodes, like it didn't look like I had a neck, like it was just like.
Yeah.
Um, my coach came up to me one day. He says, "Hey," he's like, "You look like crap." I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and then I went home, went to bed, woke up, and I remember we had a game that day, and my mom was like, "Hannah, like you look bad." And I'm like, "Why is everyone saying I look bad?" I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not getting a lot of sleep. So my mom was like, "No, like we need to go figure out what's wrong." I'm like, "All right." So before the game, went and got my blood drawn, all that. And 2 days later, they're like, yeah, you got mono. And I'm like, all right, like, what's that mean? Like, I don't know. And they're like, well, you're out of hockey for 4 to 5 weeks. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
that doesn't work with me. I'm like, nope. Um, but yeah, so my lymph nodes swollen, couldn't practice. I wasn't even able to go to the rink, which, like, safety reasons, you know. But yeah, just, I don't know, sitting out. It wasn't like an injury, like I tore my ACL or anything like that. So like I knew I was gonna return to play. But sitting out and like watching the games, it was just really tough because I don't know, you want to be there and be on the ice with your team. Um, and like especially when you're down, like as a captain, you need to be that person to motivate your team and all that. So it was definitely tough. And I feel like trying to motivate your team when you're not playing, people are just like, oh, like you're not playing, so it's not, what you're saying isn't as important as if you were playing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And how were you the only one that got it? Like, did you end up like
Yeah.
having to spread it? Oh, that's good because I thought for mono, it's like if you touched one another, that's how you get it. It's not like an airborne
Yeah.
illness.
Well, I think there's a bunch of reasons how you can get it, but I think I got it from the water bottles.
Oh, did you actually
We all
drink
have
so
our
much
own
water?
bottle, but like we also just don't care. We just drink
Yeah.
out of who's
That
ever.
will never happen today with COVID and all those like what's it called, regulations. Like I feel like that's
Yeah.
just a thing of a past in the past now.
Yeah.
Now, kind of getting back to playing a little bit, what type of leadership did you want to bring to the team? Were you more of a vocal leader, lead by example, and how are you going to use that leadership you learned in high school? Because obviously you're going to be an upperclassman for next year, so you're going to have a little bit more of a leadership role.
Yeah. So in high school, I definitely was more of a vocal leader. Um, I feel like it's bad to say, but I was like going into my junior year, I was like, if you don't want to be here, like you don't have to be here. I was like, because like we have a goal. And again, it was a public school team, so you really didn't have any obligation to be playing for the team. Um, but the other captains and I, we made it clear we were like, we want to win. But I don't know. I think I tried to lead by example. And a lot of the girls, like, I don't know, hockey can be tough sometimes, like I said, mentally. So I tried to talk a lot of the girls down when they'd get really upset about not playing or this wasn't going the right way, whatever. And I'd just be like, listen, like things are going to be okay. Like, I think I would get upset more when people, I don't know,
Weren't
when people
trying.
think, yeah, yeah, but I don't know. And like when I see so much potential in someone and then they just don't see it in themselves. So it's hard to watch when you're an upperclassman, a captain, a leader, whatever. Um, but
Yeah. And how did your high school hockey experience help prepare you for college hockey with Utica?
um, I think it prepared me a lot, not just HPNA, but like all the other coaches I had. It showed me like playing club hockey in mass. It showed me like all the other girls around me. Like I'm kind of in the middle of the pack. And then when I came to college, I was like, oh, wow, like I'm not the best one out here anymore. Like everyone else is as good as me, better than me. Um, so the adjustment was a little tough, but yeah.
And talk a little bit about your recruitment process to Utica. How did that go for yourself? What made you want to go to that school versus other ones you might have looked at?
So I started talking to Utica, I believe going into my junior year. So my recruiting process started in 8th grade. That's when like you start reaching out to coaches and everything. Um, and it was kind of tough because being from Mass, like there's all those girls going to the prep schools that are committing to, BC, BU, Providence, all that. And I was playing with them and not really getting anywhere. Um, and so I had my options open. I was emailing and talking to a bunch of different schools. And then Utica popped up, and I didn't really know what Utica was. So I just came here for a visit, learned about their program, learned about the hockey community here. And it's honestly unlike any hockey community I've ever seen. The AHL team is out here for the Comets. So they have a really big fan base. The men's team here, they're one of the top teams in the country. So they pack the rink every game. So it's kind of cool to be out here and play hockey and say that you play on the hockey team, because it's just a really fun community to be a part of. So that's definitely the reason why I came here.
And did you face any adversity during your recruitment process, being playing at a public school in Mass? I'm just curious because I know a lot of people who have had that experience had to deal with a lot of adversity throughout the recruiting process.
Yeah, so it was definitely tough. Like I said, seeing like all these girls committing to these big D1 schools, and it was kind of my mom in the back of my head, and she's like, "Hannah, like if you're good, you're good. Like you're gonna get noticed." I'm like, "All right, well, I'm not doing anything that these girls aren't doing. Like they just go to prep school and I don't." So that was pretty tough. So I think just like overcoming the fact that I was going to public school, um, and like I can play college hockey wherever I want. Like it's just a matter of like who wants me, kind of thing, I guess. Um, but yeah, it was definitely hard looking at schools, and I started looking at D3 schools, which there's completely nothing wrong with D3 schools. But as a girl growing up in seventh, eighth, ninth grade, you're like, I want to go to these big D1 schools. But then you have to become realistic, and you're like, all right, where are my options? So
And what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the speed of the game, the physicality, the decision making? Like what stood out to you the most when you started playing for your first time as a freshman?
definitely the speed of the game. Um, I hadn't played in a game that fast in so long. I remember our first game last year. We were supposed to go to Elmira, and then because of COVID, it got canceled. So we went up to Castleton, and I was playing, and I stepped out there for my first shift, and I was like, all right, wow. I was like, this is very different. A lot more physical, a lot more fast. And coming from a high school where like I could go coast to coast and score. Now I have like a whole unit working with me. So my coach and I talk about that all the time. That was like definitely the biggest adjustment, was learning to work with the defense and then the other wing and the center, not just like you and someone else kind of thing.
And obviously, during your freshman year, your team and yourself had to deal with a lot of challenges because of COVID, with games being canceled and just kind of an inconsistent schedule. So, how did you like handle those challenges of playing hockey during a pandemic year?
It was definitely interesting. I will say that. So going into my freshman year, we knew we were going to have a season, or we hoped we were. Kept getting pushed back, but we were doing workouts occasionally, but the restrictions were really, really strict. So it was kind of one of those things where once we finally were in season, which was after New Year's, you kind of woke up on the day of the game and you either had a text from coach saying, all right, let's get on the bus, or game's canceled. Or you'd be like, all right, well, we're supposed to be going down to Elmira. They got COVID. So now we're going 3 hours north to Castleton. So it was interesting because every game day you didn't know if you had a game, didn't have a game, if someone had COVID on your team, like all that. So it was pretty crazy, but we got through it.
Yeah. And how did you handle like I guess I feel like as a player myself during my time, the big thing that I was always had control over was kind of my routine and
Hmm.
like that consistency of it. And I feel
Yeah.
like last year that kind of got destroyed just because everything was so fluctuating. I don't know if are you kind of similar to myself where you have to like be in a certain routine and have everything like scheduled like weeks in advance and know what you're up to, and when that's kind of taken away from you, like how do you try to control those controllables, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, so I guess when it comes to routines, like I'm a pretty simple person. Like I know things are always changing, especially when you're playing college hockey in a pandemic. Like nothing is really guaranteed. Um, So like whenever we'd have home games, like, and we knew that like the team was already there, like we're good to play, it was always a little frazzling. So I just like get to the ring, do my routine I always do, and um, go from there. But it definitely, like when there was a switch up last minute, it was like, oh crap, like, all right, now I need to prepare for this rather than this team kind of thing.
Now, what did you take away from the games that you did play as a freshman?
I think I just like, I don't know. I learned a lot playing with that group last year. Um, I mean, it was my first year of college hockey, and I've always dreamed about playing college hockey. So I'll always remember it and like all the games and shifts I played. Um, I think the biggest takeaway is that we just had so much fun on the ice, and it made me love the game that much more, um, even though we were playing through a pandemic. But I just learned a lot about just a different play of the game, seeing the puck from a different angle, all that stuff.
Now, your team lost to Nazareth College in the UCHC tournament. Talk about that loss and how'd you use it heading into this past season? Because it felt like that loss kind of motivated your team, just looking at some of the wins you had against some of your teams you played this past season.
Yeah, so that was definitely a tough game. They're our rival. So obviously losing to your rival, and especially at home, it's no one likes that. So that kind of lit a fire under our butt, and we were like, all right, like we're gonna come into this season more motivated and driven than ever. So I think that kind of is the change that helped us with the 21 wins. But we really just wanted to win this year. We had the goal, we wanted to win the UCHC and then go to the tournament. Um, so I think that, like, knowing that we could fulfill that goal of ours, that's kind of what motivated us.
And yeah, your team, like you said, improved a lot from this your freshman year to your sophomore year. Your team went from 6 wins your freshman year to 21 wins this past season. So I guess what went into that improvement that your team made, and what did you do during the offseason to make those improvements as a team?
I think a lot of it had to come with the leadership we had. We have a new coach this year, Maddie Moore, and Dave Clausen, our head coach. I think they just really like knew that, like saw our team. They're like, all right, like we have the potential. So I think girls came into this year just a lot more motivated and ready to get to work. At practice every day, everyone made it fun, but they were also serious. That's what I love about our team, is they know how to draw the line. Um, but it made you want to get better. So when we do like small area games, like everyone's pushing each other, cheering each other on. Um, and I think as we just kept winning, we're like, all right, like this is good. Like, but we never like took it for granted, you know, like even when we play the weaker teams, we're like, all right, like they could still beat us. It's hockey. It's, you know, but I think we just kept our momentum going and what we had. So
Yeah, and what was the key for maintaining that consistency of winning games throughout the regular season? And did you feel like any pressure in trying to maintain that consistency? And like, if so, how did you handle that pressure?
yeah, so I mean, like I said, every game we went into, we knew it was going to be a battle, whether it was Nazareth or a weaker team. Um, but I think just going into every game with that mindset helps you, because you don't ever want to go into a game thinking, all right, we're definitely going to win this game, like on to the next game, like after that. Like I think you have to focus shift by shift, and just not look ahead.
And talk a little bit about the conference you play in and just the teams you face against, because a lot of people listening to this podcast might not know too much about your team in the conference. So just talk a little about it and just like some of the competition you face like each and every night, and like what's like the longest bus ride you have in that conference.
Yeah, so we play in the UCHC. So we play teams like Nazareth. We used to play Elmira, but they recently just left our league. We play Manhattanville, Alvernia, um, Arcadia, Newman, Leb Valley, Kings, Stevenson. So a bunch of those schools. A lot of them are Pennsylvania. Nazareth is out in Rochester, Manhattanville, near the city. Um, it's definitely a competitive league. Obviously, there's weaker teams. There's weaker teams in every single league, but teams change every year. So it's not really like they're weak every single year kind of thing. Um, the competition, I came to this league because of the competition, and it wasn't anything like at home. And that's kind of what drew me to want to look over here and rather than in Mass. But yeah, I think the competitive teams in our league, it's definitely Naz, and then obviously Manhattanville, they're really good. Stevenson, all that.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about your playoff run that your team had. In the first game, you beat Alvernia University. What did that win mean to you to get your team's first playoff win in your time with Utica? And just talk about that game and what you took away from it.
Yeah, it was fun winning that game. Obviously, whenever you win a playoff game, it's awesome. Um, we played them before in the season. We had beat them both times, but like I said, we never would go into any game like we're gonna win. Um, Alvernia was definitely a good team, but we kind of just brought it, and it was awesome to win a playoff game.
Even though you lost the next playoff game against Manhattanville College, what did you take away from this past season and that game and making it all the way that far in the playoffs? Because I feel like that was a huge step in the right direction for your program. And I feel like it's just going to help your team out a lot next season because you've been there before and you know what it takes to get to that point.
Yeah, I think this year, um, I mean, my biggest takeaway is that like it kind of, I don't want to say it made me mad, but like I saw where we were going, and then it kind of was just ripped away from us. So I think going into next season, it just motivates me, and I know for the whole team to just want to keep pushing. We have basically the same team as next year. Georgie Santulo's returning. Um, we're losing a goalie, 2, 3 defensemen, forwards, but for most part, we have the same team. But no, losing against Manhattanville, they're a great team. Um, and they have a lot of good skaters, a lot of good players, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I guess they just got a lucky bounce. But it definitely was tough losing that game.
Now, speaking for yourself individually, what was the biggest improvement you made to your game? Because I saw the stat lines. You had a big improvement from your freshman year to your sophomore year. So, what kind of led into that? And what would you think? What do you think is like the biggest improvement you made to your game? Whether it's like something you might see in the stat line, or was it something that like when you don't have the puck, like you're forechecking, you're backchecking, that kind of stuff?
I think my biggest improvement was, like I said earlier, like working as a unit. And my coach would always like drill in my head. He's like, Hannah, like this isn't like a one-man show. So like coming in here freshman year, I was like, oh, like I can't do that. Like I can't just take the puck myself because I have all these other girls with me. So I think my biggest improvement was I started to work as a unit in the defensive zone, going down in the offensive zone. And then I think just like I don't know. I think your speed and your shot should always be getting better every season. So I think that stuff. But
Yeah, and we're now in the segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. So first one is, what music do you like to listen to on a general basis or like before a game?
um, generally, I like to listen to I don't know country. I really like rap. Um, I love EDM.
I'm a big
Love
EDM
EDM.
guy too, so
Yeah, I love EDM. Um, honestly, I listen to like everything. My teammate and like my best friend, she likes Spanish music, so I really like Spanish music too.
nice. Are you into like Bad Bunny? That's like the only like big Spanish artist that I know of. Or Enrique Iglesias. He's very good too.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. What is your most embarrassing hockey moment? For me, I've said this story plenty of times in the podcast, but back in youth hockey, back in the Buffoni rink, if anyone knows where that is, we did this drill where we went from blue line to red line. Then we had to skate backwards on the red line and then skate back to the other red line. It was like a youth hockey drill, I think, to like help you teach kids how to skate backwards.
Yeah.
But I was going so hard in this drill because I wanted to impress the coaches, and some guy forgot to close the bench door. So like I skated right into the bench door and like fell inside the bench, which was very embarrassing,
Oh
especially as
God.
like a 10-year-old. But luckily there's no cameras at that moment, so only I can remember about it and laugh about it. But yeah, not like a moment that I was like a
Oh
moment
yeah.
where I was very embarrassed of when it happened. So like, what's yours?
Well, so I was talking to my teammate before this, and I was like, I don't have like any embarrassing stories, but then I remembered two little ones. So, Hockey Town, it's
Yes,
August.
obviously.
Yeah. So I remember it was right after school when I was in like first, second, third grade. And that rink is very, very cold. So, and it was in the dead of winter. So go to the rink, and my dad's helping me get dressed in the locker room. And I was wearing jeans. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm keeping these on. My dad's like, what? I was like, Dad, I was like, I'm freezing. Like, I'm keeping my jeans on. I go out there, I start skating. I like can't move my legs because they're jeans, and I was like stiff. My dad calls me off the ice. He's like, get those pants the hell off. I was like, all right. So, all right, whatever. So, and then the next one, this happened my freshman year or sophomore year of high school. We're about to go out on the ice, and Kate Delaney, one of my teammates, were messing around with our sticks. Her stick gets up in my cage and slits my whole eyebrow open.
Oof.
So I'm like gushing blood as I'm about to go out and play a game. So my mom, being the nurse, she eye patched me. So I played a game with an eye patch, which was interesting.
Did you get any goals in that game? Because that's kind of cool. You can score with one eye.
Honestly, I don't remember. I just remember being in pain that game.
Hey, you got it out though. I think that's all that counts, right?
Yeah.
I think there could be worse embarrassing moments. Like at least you weren't like didn't you get your ankles broken or like bodied in a game. I feel like that would
Yeah.
be a little
I
more
like
embarrassing.
I don't know. I don't think I have like any very embarrassing moments, but I also try and forget the embarrassing things I do. So
Yeah. Now, this is a segment I like to call overrated, underrated, where I ask you about some things and you just let me know if they're overrated or underrated. So,
all
first one
right.
is what is the most overrated holiday and what is the most underrated holiday? And if you need some time to think about it, I can just give you my answers to start off with.
I think the most overrated holiday is Valentine's Day.
Hmm.
I hate Valentine's Day. Underrated. I feel like it's not that underrated, but Thanksgiving. I
Hmm.
love Thanksgiving.
For me, I think the most underrated holiday is 4th of July, just because I like,
Mm-hmm.
at least what I do is I do barbecue with like my friends and like the fireworks are really cool and it's just like
Oh
cool
yeah,
summer vibe. And plus like it's nice being outside until like 8 o'clock
in the
because the sun's
warmth.
still up.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel like not many holidays kind of have that because most holidays like it's in the fall, so like the sun sets like at 6 o'clock. So
yeah.
I really enjoyed that a lot. And the most overrated one I would say is Halloween, just because I'm not
Mm,
really big on dressing up. And like I feel like
yeah,
Halloween's more for kids, like for trick or treating. And obviously I'm too old to do that. So there's really no point of me doing any Halloween stuff because I'm not really into it. So I feel like Halloween's only made for like a group of people that really
yeah,
enjoy that stuff. And I'm not in that group of people. So I don't
yeah.
think
The
it's like
young kids.
particularly fun.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think for Valentine's Day, it is overrated. I think it's because the people take it like too seriously.
Yeah,
What I mean by that is like there's people, at least like in high school and even in college too, who just like consistently post like about Valentine's Day with like
yeah,
their significant other, and it's just like I don't
yeah,
need to see all of the stuff. Like you can
yeah,
just keep it private. So for my
yeah,
opinion, Valentine's Day, if you do like a little something, I'm like cool with that. But I feel like if you go over the top, it's like this sucks. Like this is why I hate
yeah,
Valentine's Day.
yeah. I agree.
Now prom, overrated, underrated.
Oh God, I don't know. See, I went to prom my freshman year, and
You got to
I
go as a
love.
freshman? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I was dating my brother's teammate at the time.
Oh, cool.
So went with my brother's teammate. Um, I love getting dressed up. I did dance when I was little, so like I'm used to like all like the makeup and all that. Um, Definitely overrated though. I
Mhm.
was very hyped up, and then I went and I was like, this isn't that fun.
Yeah.
So definitely overrated.
Did you only go your freshman year? Because I never got a prom because I'm a 2020 grad. So like our
Oh
prom got
yeah.
canceled our senior year, and you weren't allowed to go until you were a senior unless you got invited by like an upperclassman when you were a freshman, sophomore, or junior. So I never had that opportunity because if you see any freshman year photos of myself, I'm clearly not able to go to prom because I look so young. So I'm just curious, like if you had the chance to go like your junior year at all.
So I went my freshman year, and then my junior year. to someone else's, the senior prom, and then
Yeah.
I went to my junior prom. So I went to 3, but never
Overrated?
got better. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely overrated.
I agree. I wasn't really the big fan of school dances, so
Yeah.
I agree with that. So, and then lastly, what is the most like overrated like a sports event? Like since the Final Four just happened, like what do you think is like an overrated sports event? For me, it's definitely the Olympics. Like I know they're every 4 years, but like I really, it's like every time they're on, I'm like, oh, the Olympics are on. I only like with the hockey, and that's about it. So,
Yeah. Honestly, I'd have to agree with that because I only really watch the hockey. And then with
mhm.
the Summer Olympics, I do watch the gymnastics because I think that's pretty insane. But yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I don't know what else I'd say. What other sporting event? But
Maybe
yeah,
the
if
Final
you,
Four because I'm not really into basketball, but I feel like you have to. I feel like I'm not the one to answer that just because I'm not a
yeah,
basketball fan.
yeah, I agree with that. Same.
College hockey better than college basketball. I know this is a college hockey podcast, but like I feel like people like don't like if you just watch it, it's so much more entertaining. There's less teams, it's more exclusive, it's just way more
hmm
fun in my opinion.
I 100% agree with that.
So now what is your biggest pet peeve?
Hmm.
Bad
I don't know. I
drivers
don't
for
have a
me.
lot, but oh God, this one. So I hate when people are sitting next to you eating and you can just like hear it. It kind of gives me like the oh, I hate that. Um, and then just like being late places. Like I hate like showing up and you're right on the dot or like 5 minutes late. It gives me a lot of anxiety and it's a very big pet peeve.
Well, I'm sorry about that because that happened today with me. I had a little bit of a
Oh my
traffic
God, no,
incident.
I
So
didn't care. I didn't care. I was just sitting here doing homework before.
So, no, I agree. Being late does suck, but for me, it's bad drivers. You
Yeah,
know this being
it's
in
mass
Mass, it's freaking
traffic.
ridiculous how these people
Yeah,
drive. So,
yeah,
they're definitely the worst for sure. So, but try not to get too upset about it because I don't want to get in an accident or like an incident. So,
yeah.
that's like kind of my
Seriously,
like mentality throughout it.
yeah.
I think the worst like road rage I've ever had was like I like started screaming at this one guy like after he cut me off. That was like the worst one I've ever had. I don't know if you've had any of those though.
Oh yeah, and it was actually coming home from Hockey Town one time with my dad. My dad is he's a scary driver. We were getting on the on ramp to go onto Route One, and this guy cut him off on the on ramp, and we both got out of their car, and I'm sitting there like,
Oh, that's bad. I've never had that. I just like screamed at the guy and then just like drove away and like hopefully didn't see me.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I try
Luckily,
and be a
nothing
calm
happened from it
driver,
though.
but what was
Yeah.
that?
Luckily, nothing really happened from that. It sounds like.
Yeah, it was just me sitting in the passenger seat, like, okay, dad, like you look stupid, like, come on.
So, well, I understand. Sometimes, when that happens, I'm on your dad's side. I understand when moments like that happen.
Oh yeah. And then he's yelling, he's like, my daughter's in the car. And I'm like, don't bring me into this. Like, come on.
If there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
I don't know. I mean, my favorite actress is Jennifer Aniston. So maybe her. Because
Nice.
I love her. Um, I can't think of anyone else.
Yeah, I think for me, it'll be like Cillian Murphy. I don't know if you watched the show Peaky Blinders, but I think he's really awesome in that. So that's who I would pick.
My teammate watches that.
It's a good show. It's just hard to understand because their accents are really strong. But once you
Yeah.
understand that, it's really fun watch just because like it's like action and money
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. I find it really
Yeah.
interesting. Next one is about some of your teammates. First one is who is the funniest teammate you have at Utica?
Oh God, I don't know. There's a lot. They're all really funny. I think Schaefer and Espo, Erica Schaefer, and then our goalie, Maddie Esposito. They're really funny. And then also my best friend on the team, Nicole Flack. But her and I's jokes are kind of like inside jokes, so no one else thinks they're funny. But we
Hmm.
think each other are hilarious, and everyone else is just like, what? But I think definitely Schaefer and Espo.
Now, which teammate would have the best reality TV show about themselves?
Oh God, I feel like all of them. They all have such interesting lives
Yeah.
and they all do a lot of like funny stuff. So, and that we're all dramatic. We're all girls, so we're all dramatic. So, I think it would be very interesting if we had our own reality TV show.
Now, you obviously have the best style on the team. I want to point out, I love the 21 necklace. I think that's really cool. I don't know
Thank
how you
you.
made it.
So I think the charm, I got it for Christmas. I think the charm is from Amazon,
Oh,
and the
nice.
chain is just from like a jewelry store. But
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
love.
digging the necklace. But so clearly you have the best style on the team. But besides yourself, like who else is rocking some good like outfits?
Hmm. Do you mean like game day outfits or like just style, like on the ice?
Let's do game day outfits, like pregame stuff. I feel like you definitely do. But I'm trying to think like
I
who else.
love dressing up for game day. That's my favorite thing ever. Let's see, who has some good game day outfits? I think Georgie Santulo. Um, she definitely has a lot of good ones. She's very stylish like me. Um, I think like Espo, Serena Fitzery, she's a senior. Definitely them. And Maya Bennett.
Hmm.
They definitely
How
have
do you
really
like? How do you like come up with an outfit? I'm curious because I feel like for women's hockey players, it's a little more difficult because you have a lot more options to pick from. So I'm curious for you, like, how do you decide like what you're gonna wear before a game, and where will you ever will the team ever like post a pregame outfit stuff? And I'm saying that for college hockey talk purposes for next year.
So well for the outfit side, like I said, I love that. Like that's like my girly side is I love like fashion and like picking out outfits and all that stuff. So that's kind of like my thing, and I just like have a lot of like different clothes. So like my favorite part is like when I wake up for game day, like putting like the pieces together of what I want to wear, like what blazer, if I want to wear like peacoat, like all that stuff, skirt, pants. Um, so that's that part, and then we don't have someone outside taking pictures of us. And I was showing my teammate today because I was showing her the Instagram and I was like, yeah, like he has like this stuff where he shows like all these game day outfits. I was like, and no one does that for us.
Yeah.
But I'll have to see because I that should be a thing next year.
Yeah, well, I want you to win the 2023 award. Like, you need to be involved with that. So I
Yeah.
want to try to help you out a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I think for like, at least for like that, I think I like to, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel like I really was the big reason why, because there was more teams starting to post their pregame outfits. And I don't want to
Yeah.
say it's me, but I feel like I definitely had some influence in like telling some
You
people like to
definitely
get.
started it. Yeah. I
So,
mean, I think I love looking at like all the girls' outfits
mhm,
because some of them have sick style.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, I need it. Oh, oh, oh. I'm like, that's sick. That's cool. But
yeah.
yeah, I love it.
Well, for the men's stuff, like how do you decide like who has a good outfit for the men's side, or you don't really pay attention to that? Because for me, I love the winner of this year's men's award was the UMass Lowell hockey team, and it was just because I
Yeah.
love like the 1920s style, like scally cap, like that. I thought that looked really cool. That's what I would probably wear before every game.
I think like with men, I mean, I'm not really good with like men's style, but I think when it just like looks very
Basic,
clean
yeah.
and like put together and it's like you know how to dress. Like I don't like all like the crazy, like funky stuff. I feel like a lot of guys wear that, but like I like a clean like suit,
Mhm.
you know?
So you would take like a just like a basic like black tie, black suit over like something like crazy, like what some of these like NHL players wear with like the hat and like the weird blazer and all
See,
that
I
kind of
like the
stuff.
hats. I love the hats.
All
I
right.
wear hats on game day sometimes. I think like the ideal thing would be like I don't know why I love navy blue suits
Yeah.
and like a white shirt and like the caramel colored shoe. I think that's like that's sick. That's like a very good outfit. But also I feel like I don't pay attention to what they wear usually
Hmm.
before games and
It's usually pretty boring. So that's why I usually
yeah.
just stick with the black suit because like I think it's like you can't go wrong with it.
It's
But I do
simple.
like the scally cap. I think that's
Yeah.
something that I would try to incorporate more. I know
Yeah.
people like the top hats, but I think I look ridiculous in that. That's why I just
Yeah.
stick with that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too many girls wear the scally cap, so that's something that you should try and pull off. I think that'll be cool.
Can probably work that in somehow.
So if I see that next year, like I want some credit for that outfit. That's all I want to say.
All right, I'll give it to you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Now, last question is, what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
Um, Honestly, so my best friend and teammate, Nicole Flack, she's gonna laugh when she sees this because we were just talking about it. So she is a nursing major and she always talks to me about her microbiome and anatomy, and it's just all these big words. And I sit there and I'm like, because I'm a business major, I don't know any of that. But she was telling me something today about because I take greens in the morning, um, and she was always like iffy on it, and she was like, "There's so much like crap in that," and I'm like, "Fuck, it's greens." Like, but then she went on this whole tangent because she's studying for an exam tomorrow, and she learned that it's actually good for you. And she's, I don't know, I couldn't tell you the exact words
Yeah.
because, like I
She doesn't want
said,
to admit that you were right.
yeah, she
Yeah.
will someday. But
Someday. I think for me, it was either obviously the Will Smith, Chris Rock thing. I thought that was pretty interesting.
mm,
I feel like I know there's been a lot of opinions on it, but I feel like he handled that so poorly because now everyone's talking about it still, and people are
oh
making more
yeah,
jokes about his wife. And then the whole reason
yeah.
why he did it was to like defend his wife. So I
Yeah,
feel like if I was out,
that was insane. That was crazy.
so I feel like if I was in that position, I would like say something after the show because then no one else would be talking about it. Like
Yeah,
so, like as for like maybe I don't know, I'm not married, but I feel like he handled that very poorly.
yeah. He
And
has
then
balls to do that. I couldn't believe that he did
oh, he
that.
should
Like,
have been
wow.
arrested though for slapping someone in public. Like it was like anyone else besides Will Smith, like they would have been like security would have just like dragged him off
Yeah.
stage. I think that's
Oh yeah.
hysterical. That's why Hollywood's like so like hypocritical. Like they'll like clap like when he gets an award after like he does something like that. Where anywhere else that would be like very like shamed upon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
And then the last thing, and this is sort of medical related, but I was taking class and we were kind of learning about like how cancer like develops, like, and it was, I thought it was like very interesting, and it's kind of weird because like there's so much research being done on it, yet it's like so, there's still so much that people don't know about it. So I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting as well as like how cells just keep like duplicating and like how it starts, and
Yeah,
hopefully
seriously.
there's more research getting done on it to help like solve these problems because it's pretty sad like what it can do to someone's body.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree.
Now back to some hockey questions. Now first one is what should be done to help grow women's hockey?
I think definitely just like the exposure part of it, like keep streaming women's hockey. Because I feel like it's a big thing. You turn on the TV and it's men's hockey. So I think just keep up the exposure. And then like the fan base kind of thing, like because women's hockey is like a lot of people are like, oh, like it's boring. There's no checking. Well, have you ever watched a women's game? Like it's a lot more than just checking, and it's still just as physical. Um, so I think just the exposure part is like a huge thing.
Yeah. And what advice would you give those younger players who are trying to pursue a career in women's hockey?
Um, just keep going, I think, and that's like seems so simple and it's easier said than done to just like keep going, but keep pushing it. And there's going to be people that you come across that are going to try and tell you you can't do something. But I think instead of shutting down, you should use that as fuel and be like, all right, well, just for that, I want to like prove you wrong kind of thing. Um, and there's going to be setbacks. Like I've had many, but you can't let that like kill you on the inside. You just got to keep going.
And obviously use what your mom told you, which I thought was a great quote. Doesn't matter where you play, if you're a good hockey player, they'll find you. So I thought that was
Yeah.
really interesting. I like that quote a lot. I might use that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Now, should body checking be allowed in women's hockey?
Yeah. It's
Why?
actually funny. In my my public speaking class on Friday, my professor asked me this. Because a lot of my speeches are about hockey and he doesn't really know that much about hockey. So he's always asking me questions. He's like, should checking be allowed? And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, why? I was like, well, first off, the game's already that much more physical. Some of the actually half the girls do check and it will be like a light check, but there's no checking allowed. So it's obviously a penalty. But I think it's a lot more fun when you just let the girls play kind of thing. Um, and I think it would just make the game that more physical and fun to watch. Um, but I definitely think it should be added.
Yeah, and like I think it'll make refereeing the game easier because there's some refs that are strict about it, some refs that aren't, and I feel like as a player you shouldn't be worrying about who's going to referee a game and like how you have to play because of who's refereeing the game. So I feel like if
Yeah,
you like make checking like legal, like you won't have to worry about that, and you can just play your game and not have to worry
yeah,
about the other aspects of that, which I think is important as a player.
yeah. It definitely sucks. Like, I mean, I'm 5'8" off skates, 5'7", 5'8". and I'm definitely not like small. Like I'm usually bigger than like half the girls. So it sucks like going into the corner and not checking, but like bumping someone and it's a cross check, like all that. And so it's definitely frustrating. And that's something I actually had a problem with this year because refs, they call every little thing. They don't let
Yeah.
anything fly. So it was kind of frustrating for that. But I'm learning to use my body to my advantage and not get penalties.
What's the biggest check that you had so far in your college career? I feel like you've probably run into someone pretty big sometime. I feel like that's got to happen if you've played 2 years in college hockey so far.
I do remember one. It was actually it was my very first college game last year against Castleton, and me and this girl, we weren't really looking. We were both looking in opposite directions, and I looked. And I was like, "Oh crap!" I was like already on top of her, and I just like threw her, and I was like, and she was a lot smaller than me. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "That's not good." No penalty because it was a collision, but still, I not good, not
Yeah.
good.
Have you ever been checked before, or you're the one always delivering the checks?
Um, I have been checked a few times. And it's funny sometimes when you watch film, like a girl will come up and try and check me, and I'll just bounce off. And like, you're like 5 foot, like. But I do remember we were playing Norwich, and this girl, she was a lot bigger than me, and she wrecked me behind the net, and I had to get up, and I was like opening my eyes. I was like, "Am I okay?" But
Yeah.
I try and avoid getting checked if I can, but
Is there a video of it that like, because I know a lot of coaches like showing that
I
video like
probably
Monday
could find a
morning.
video of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of coaches like showing those videos like Monday morning just to, like get their team to laugh. So I was
Oh
curious if your
yeah.
coach did that at all. So, and then last thing I want to ask you, but do you have any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, or friends? I know you kind of mentioned some of those people throughout the interview, but feel free to kind of dedicate this time to give them a shout out.
Huh. I'll give a shout out to my team, um, my coaches, my family. So hi, mom. I don't know who else to give a shout out to.
Well, I'll give you a shout out, Hannah, because I want to just say thank you so much for taking time of your day and coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I wish you nothing but the best for your off season and for your junior year. I know you're going to do great things. I love listening to your story. Very inspirational. It's obviously cool hearing stories from players from Massachusetts, just because that's where I'm from. So it's very near and dear to my heart. But no, it's great hearing your story. And yeah, if you ever come to Massachusetts to play a game, I'd love to see you play in person. So keep up the great work, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.